Hello and welcome back to Nonsense Farm. I really appreciate you watching my video today. If you haven't subscribed, I hope you'll hit the subscribe button and also that like button, the thumbs up down there, that really helps me. So today we're talking about seed starting. As I'm speaking right now, we're just coming out of a very icy week. It's not garden time yet, but garden time will be here very quickly. And one thing that I've learned, and that has become more and more true over time, is that seedlings at the big box stores, at the nurseries, are very expensive. Last year they were like $4 and $5 per pot, which if you compare what you get from that to what it would cost just to get it at the store, that's crazy. You might as well not put in all the work and just go buy it at the store. Plus, when you grow it in your garden, critters might get it, diseases might get it. So it really makes more sense if you're gonna garden to start the seeds yourself and not have so many dollars invested in what you're doing. So seed starting requires a little forethought, it requires a little equipment, and it involves a little bit of time. Now I've put together in a free handout that I'll put a link to in the description, a list of just some basic equipment that if I were starting over with seed starting today, that I would just buy this equipment. It's about $100 once you get all the things. There's like a grow light and a seed mat and some pots and things like that. So about $100 investment. It doesn't take very many plants when they're $5 a piece to recoup that investment. This is a heat mat for underneath seedlings. I have lots of these and they're useful for more things just than seed starting. Next, if I were you, I would get some 10-20 trays. That's what they call these trays that I have these pots in, and get the ones with no holes. Then you're going to need to get a pot to start your seeds in. There's all kinds of different varieties of these, and I just put some basic ones in the link in the handout. And then also you're going to need a grow light. I know it's tempting just to put your seedlings in the windowsill, but it isn't direct enough light and it isn't for enough hours of the day during the winter in order for you to be successful. Another thing you can get that's optional is a timer that goes in an outlet, an indoor outlet timer, so that you can set your grow lights to go on and off. I think seedlings are supposed to get like 16 hours of light in a day, which for one thing points out why you can't use the windowsill, because the sun is not up for 16 hours right now. But if you don't want to buy the timers, you can just unplug and replug them. But a timer's pretty cheap and it kind of automates your system, so it's a good idea. I just buy my seed starting mix from Lowe's or Home Depot. This past fall, I did some experimenting with mixing it, but it made the process so much more cumbersome, and I'm not convinced it was any cheaper. It might have been, but I still work full time, and so my time is really valuable, and it's just easier to open up the bag and pour it in. Now this tub is a bus tub that I bought years ago for my son to put his dirty dishes in upstairs. Now my son would never put his dirty dishes in it, but I have since reclaimed it and I use it for the soil. I put the soil in here, the seed starting mix, and I boil a pot of water in the tea kettle. And then I pour the water on here and mix it all in, and that serves two purposes. One, it moistens the seed starting mix, and two, it is hot enough that it kills any fungus spores that might be developing in there. You don't want fungus in your seedlings because that can harm your progress. As you're getting started, don't get too keyed up about where to get your seeds from. I have some favorite seed places, but if you pick up seeds at Lowe's or Home Depot or Target or wherever, that's totally great. We're just getting started. Don't get too keyed up in the details right now. Oh, and one last thing. If I were you, I would get something to label the pots with as to what you planted in there. I always think I'm going to remember, and I never do. Today I'm going to plant some Baker Creek Mortgage Lifter tomatoes. I'm a little bit later than I usually am starting tomatoes. If you keep up with my channel, I did have a big surgery on December 4th, so I have been a little incapacitated until just this week. So now I'm going to get those tomatoes started. Of course, there have been years that I've jumped the gun on getting tomatoes started. Now, the reason that I use such big pots is that I don't want to have to handle the seedlings again. I'm a big fan of soil blocking, and that's a whole nother subject. But what didn't work about soil blocking for me was that they would get started and they would be beautiful, but I would need to then put the seedling in a bigger pot. I would need to pot it up because the season was not ready to put it outside yet, and it was outgrowing the soil blocks. So then I had to handle every seedling twice, and again, still working full time, that just doesn't work for me. So I just go exactly into these. Sometimes I sell seedlings, and when I already have them in pots like these, it makes it easy to sell. Again, I don't have to handle them twice. Now also, especially I was looking on Amazon for seed starting pots, and there's all those fiber ones, you know, they kind of look like lumpy cardboard kind of. I really recommend you don't use those. The idea is good. It's, you know, it composts into the soil. You can plant it right in the pot. The thing is, every time I've tried using those seedlings never do as well. And I think it's because the material of the pot is so porous that it just doesn't keep the roots moist enough. And moisture is a big deal when you're a seedling. So anyway, for me, I'm gonna stick with plastic. Now, I have reused these same pots for 5 years now. I use them, I bring them home, I wash them, and I use them again. So plastic might not be the most sustainable, but I just get the best results from them. I try and make it as sustainable as possible.
These tomato seeds are really, really small. So
you don't put them very much underneath the soil because they won't have the energy to burst out of the soil. So here on the package, start indoors 6 to 10 weeks before the last frost. Heat mat helps warm soil and speed germination. All right, so here we go. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna drop a seed into each one of these pots. I've noticed a couple of seeds dropping into a couple of them, but they're so small that it's hard to be exact. Come on, there we go. All right. All right, now all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna press down the soil, and in the process of that, the seed will be buried, but not very far. And also pressing it down ensures that the seed makes good contact with the soil so that it gets the moisture it needs and everything that it needs to sprout. The moisture, the darkness, the temperature. It's been really cold here this week, so I have broccoli, cauliflower, and lettuce, and a lot of it is out in the garage on heat mats. And I've noticed that the thermometers on the seed mats, it's still only keeping the soil to like 55 degrees, which is okay for those plants once they've sprouted, but it's not great for getting it to sprout. It needs to be more like 75. So I brought a couple of them inside. Now we keep inside of our house 65 degrees, so it's still not 75, but it's supposed to warm up outside this week, so we'll see how those do out there. But you don't need to worry about it. The seeds aren't gonna like die or something. If you think about it, all the like wildflowers that you see out in the world, those seeds get shed by the flowers the year before, and they just sit there until the temperature's right for them to sprout. So those seeds out in the garage are gonna be fine. Now I'm just going to water these with the kitchen water to get them good and wet. So now we have our seedlings on seed mat, and now we'll wait for them to sprout. Now as soon as we see them sprout, even a little bit, like you see this right here or this right here, then you need to put the whole tray under grow lights. because as soon as those little plants start peeking out, they are looking for sunshine. And if they can't find it easily, they will stretch up and try and find it, and they'll be all leggy and weak, and it won't be a good plant. So now it's pretty much a waiting game. Those trays, how I water them is I wait until the soil is dry, then I water into the tray under the pots, and I let the pots soak up the water. And I find that it does the best if I let the soil dry thoroughly in between waterings. Not so much that it starts to affect the plants. It's my dog. Anyway, so that's how you want to water, and then you just keep growing them until it's time to go outside. Now, when it's time to go outside, you need to go through a process called hardening off. And all that is you're getting them ready to withstand the rigors of being out in the real world, as opposed to the very protected situation that you've had them in right now. Right now, there's no wind going by them. It's had perfect light, perfect moisture, and they're about to go outside where maybe the sunlight is more harsh, there's wind. So what you want to do is you want to spend a few days giving them increasing exposure to the outside. So put them outside for, a couple hours the first day, a little longer the next day. It's hard when you work full time because you can't really just be running plants in and out all day. But anyway, just do the best you can. And then when they're ready and hardened off, then you plant them in your garden just like those expensive plants you would have gotten at the big box store. So I wish you great success. If you have any questions about seed starting, I would love to answer them if I possibly can. So put them in the comments and I will answer each and every one. And again, there is a free download, a seed starting handout in the description, and I would love for you to download that. All right, have a great day. Happy seed starting.